All right, here are the solutions for practice quiz number 1. Number 1, factor out the greatest common factor. So this is where we take a look at the number and the variable and what they have in common. I know that 10 is divisible by 2 and 12 is divisible by 2 because they're both even numbers. And the factors of 10 are 2 and 5, and 12 are 2 and 6. So the most we can take out is 2 for both. So I can divide out 2 out of both of these. Alright, and then let's look at the variables. The lowest variable here for y is 7, and then here the highest one is 9. So at most I can pull out y to the 7th on both of these. So that means my greatest common factor is 2y to the 7th. And if I place out the outside 2y to the 7th, like that, then I can simplify by dividing each of these terms, the number terms, and then subtracting the variables. So 10 divided by 2 is equal to 5, and y to the 9th, 9 minus 7, this leaves 2, so 5y squared for this first term. Alright, my next term will be negative, so 12 divided by 2 is 6, and because we took out all the y, 7 minus 7, we'll use cancel out, leaving just 6. So this is my answer for number 1. Alright, number 2, we recognize that this is a quadratic expression and that we need to create something that involves two binomials. So why don't we set that up first? Set up an empty set of binomials, all right, where we have the possibilities of x, or I guess a in this case. If c is negative and b is negative, that means that we have alternating signs, a plus, a minus, but our negative factor is going to end up being bigger than the positive factor. Okay. So then we move on to listing out the factors of c, 28, which include 28 times 1, 14 times 2, and 7 times 4. So in this case, we'll subtract to the middle term, negative 3. And out of all these factors, the difference between each of these, this one's 27, this one is 12, this one is 3. That means that 7 and 4 are going to be the factors that I'll be working with. In order to get a negative 3 out of this, I need to set this up with a positive 4 and a negative 7. So 4 minus 7 equals negative 3. And that checks out. That's the middle term I'm looking for. So the positive factor is 4, and negative factor is 7. And this is my answer. Alright, number 3. So 4x squared minus 20x plus 16. We take a look at each of these numbers and try to see if there's a greatest common factor. So 4 has 4 and 1, 20 has 4 and 5, and 16 has 4 and 4 as all possible factors. So all of them have 4 in common. So we can divide out a 4 from all of these to begin. Alright. So having the 4 on the outside, this simplifies down to x squared minus 20 over 4, which is minus 5x, and 16 over 4 is positive 4. Now we're going to take a look at this c here and list out the factors of c, which include 4 times 1 and 2 times 2. Alright, before we find out which factors are going to add up to the middle term, we can set up our empty set like this based on the values of c and b. So we have x and x to make up x squared. C is positive in this case, B is negative, so our scenario we have x minus minus. It'll be a sum of two negatives factors. Alright, so if we're looking at the factors of 4, which of these add up to the middle term of -5? We're going to be selecting 4 and 1, but both of them must be negative, so -4 plus a -1 is equal to -5, and that's what we want. That matches up with the middle term here. So our factors are x minus 4 and x minus 1, with the 4 as the greatest common factor. So this is my answer. Alright, for number 4, we have 4x squared plus 23x plus 15. And if we try to divide out the greatest common factor, we're going to find out that they don't share a factor in common. So that means that this is a case where a is greater than 1. Alright? However, based on the values of c is positive and b is positive, we can actually set this up for our cases. So we know that both of these factors are going to end up being addition. Alright, so our empty set is going to look like this. We don't know the factors of a first, but we know that they have addition for both of these. Alright, if we take a look at the factors of 4 for a, those include 4 times 1 and 2 times 2. So potentially we could have two scenarios involving a. And if we look at the factors of 15, those include 15 times 1 and 3 times 5. Alright, and potentially we can also have the placement, so 1 times 15 and 5 times 3. So looking at all those possibilities, we have 4 here for 4 and 1, and then 4 again for 2 and 2. There are 8 different possibilities that this can happen, and only one of them will add up to 23x. Okay? So just being strategic and looking at where these are placed. If we make the scenario for 4x and 1x, if I place anything here that is 15, right, then that's gonna exceed the amount of 23. So maybe not this one here. Alright, that's just way too big. If I do start off with the first one, like that, then the outsides multiply to 4x and the insides to 15x, and those add up to 19x. They don't match the 23x. Alright, so we can also discard this next one. Alright, moving on to the second set of factors, we have 3 and 5. And multiplying the outsides, you get 4x times 5 is 20x, and 3 times x is 3x, and these add up to 23x, which is what we want. So this time I got lucky. Right, these end up matching. So my answer is 4x plus 3 times x plus 5.